Hey guys, how's it going? It's Danconia and welcome back to Overwatch. So, I know I'm a little bit late on this, but the Overwatch Flash Ops Echo Showdown was last weekend. Yes, it was last weekend, believe it or not, and I'm only just doing a video on it now. It's a bit rubbish, isn't it? But, you know, I've got too many videos for not enough days. Anyway, moving on. The Echo Showdown was a really fantastic tournament for a lot of reasons. And it's a blueprint that the Overwatch devs could learn from. Obviously, the Flash Ops Echo Showdown was done in conjunction with the release of Echo to live Overwatch. Now, Echo is the 32nd hero of Overwatch and the last hero of Overwatch until Overwatch 2 is released. So, it was kind of a swan song for hero releases. But in this tournament, you could have a 6-man team, but at least one of your members had to be playing that Echo. It was done to roll lock, so it was 2-2-2. And there were no hero bans, I don't believe. So this was a really good setup, and it had a prize pool. There was $10,000, $10,000 for each team that won in both of the regions. There was a NA region, and then there was an EMEA region for Europe. So the tournament was really good. I actually didn't get to see a lot of it because of reasons and video creation and all that stuff. I didn't get the time, which was really, really annoying. But there were some rules to the tournament which I think were pretty cool. Overwatch League players could compete, but they couldn't be entire teams. So I think you could have a maximum of one Overwatch League player on each team. And this meant that some Overwatch League players took part in the tournament. Some people didn't, but some They just filtered into teams that contained people from the community, like streamers or YouTubers, and much lower tier players, like tier 2 and tier 3 players. This is fantastic to see that sort of amalgamation of talent coming into one team in a showcase that, you know, it's just one of these tournaments that so many different games do these days, that Overwatch is kind of neglected in recent times. It concentrates a lot on the league and not much else. Even Contenders is suffering these days. So to have tournaments like this, it's really cool, and it demonstrates the skill of some of the people that we have in the Overwatch community. When you look at the ESPN Valorant tournament thing that's been going on, where they've had teams made up of different games representatives. So there was an Overwatch team, there was a Valorant dev team, there was a R6 team, there was a LoL team, I think. The Overwatch team was one of the best teams in that tournament, because Overwatch players, despite what CSGO players and that will tell you, Overwatch players are very talented. Believe it or not. I think the Overwatch team beat the R6 team in that tournament. Anyway, we're bleeding over here. But Overwatch players are incredibly talented at all levels of the game, not just at the league level. And it's incredible that we get a tournament like this that demonstrates that, just like Breakable Barriers did at the end of last year. So, if I give you an example of some of the teams we've seen during this tournament. So, for example, let's take a look at our winners from North America. This was Test Team 1. So, Test Team 1 was made up of Jake, Dante, CloneMan16, Harblue, Fran, Kareev, and Redshell. So, Dante is currently in the Overwatch League, so is Kareev, so I believe the cutoff must be 2 Overwatch League players, if I remember rightly then. And understandably, with the quality on that team, Jake is ex-Owl, obviously, now Owl talent. Harblue is a fantastic off-tank, CloneMan's a fantastic main tank, Fran, Kareev, and Redshell are great supports, and Fran had a little bit of time in esports herself not too long ago before pulling out, alongside Aspen, who was also in this tournament, by the way, playing for Team KW. Team KW was a really interesting one as well, because KSF of the Los Angeles Valiant was part of Team KW, who came third in this tournament, but that also had Kabaji, Craggy, Bogur, and that's another thing we'll get on in a minute. We've seen players come back for this tournament as well. Aspen, ML7, and Yeetle made up KW. But some really interesting things. We've seen some teams that have obviously come through from Contenders or from the tier 3 from Open Division, like Old Man Strength, who are currently competing in Open Division of NA, or Full Season 2. So some teams have just transferred over from that tier 2, tier 3, which is fine. Some teams have just amalgamated a load of different talent, and it's really, really cool to see. But I think the best effect that I've seen this Echo tournament have is some players come back to playing at a competitive level that haven't. And I know we can call this a competitive level. It was a tournament for prize money. Yes, it's not league level or even contenders level when you perhaps debate that, but it is a competitive tournament where we've seen some people come back. So I mentioned Bogur earlier. I mean, Bogur retired at the start of this year after leaving Revival. He was replaced by Fact Fiction at Revival, and he came back to play in this tournament, which is really, really cool. I think Bogur actually played in both regions. So he was on Team KEKW with the likes of Kabaji and KSF, but when he went over to the European region, he was actually on Team KEKW Arrive, where he was still with Craggy, but they, instead of having people like Aspen and Kabaji, they had Sparker, Yeetle, ML7 and Skyripper. And that was really cool as well. Skyripper obviously of the Raspberry Racers, who we are expecting to make it out of Open Division EU with the stacked roster that they've got. Also, there were a few others taking part in the EU region. The EU region was won by Tense 1983, which actually has quite a bit of Raspberry Racers talent in it. Watery, Helve, and Shockwave, to name just a few of them. So there is an incredible amount of positives to take from this tournament. Another name that I'd like to bring up is Numlocked. So Numlocked left Montreal Rebellion, or well, he didn't leave Montreal Rebellion, everyone left Montreal Rebellion because it ceased being a team, basically. And he went inactive because Numlocked has been battered around the league and contenders for quite a long time, and he just wanted a break from it. But this brought him back again to playing Overwatch, and that's really, really cool. Not saying that he doesn't play Overwatch in his spare time, but it's really cool to see some players just come back for this tournament. And I think if Blizzard were to make these a regular thing, which I see no reason why they can't. There is no reason why they can't. We see some crazy tournaments on Twitch, like Twitch Rivals, for example. There was an Overwatch tournament back along with Twitch Rivals, which was centered around the workshop when that went live. And I think things like that could be really beneficial to the Overwatch community. Not perhaps to, fix the problems with Tier 2, but just to generate some more interest in Overwatch once more in the lead up to the Overwatch 2 release wouldn't be a bad idea to put on some more of these tournaments. The Flash Ops Echo Showdown was a massive success in my opinion. It may have not got the viewership, perhaps, that you would expect. And remember, I think it was streamed on the Overwatch League channel, some of it, which is, again, another move that is fantastic. And something that needs to be done more for contenders. I don't understand why you bigged up this Flash Ops Echo Showdown so much on the Overwatch League broadcast and put it on the Overwatch League's YouTube channel, and you do so little about contenders. It just baffles me. It baffles me when contenders is literally your feeder to the league. It's quite extraordinary. I don't know why that's a thing, but I am a massive advocate for these sorts of tournaments. These one-off tournaments, they don't have to be a regular thing. I was praying for breakable barriers to be a continuous thing. We got 2 weeks of breakable barriers and no more. It wasn't Blizzard run, don't get me wrong, but breakable barriers was a great thing. And I'd love to see more of that type of thing, because I had a blast covering those 2 weeks where we saw breakable barriers. The teams, the team names, the results, everything was really, really interesting. Now, there is a caveat to this. When you have an Open Division season taking place, a Contenders season taking place, and a Overwatch League season taking place, there's a lot of talent taken up there. And I understand that. You will realise that the Flash Ops Echo Showdown actually took place while the Contenders season was on a break. It's no excuse though, because there's still an Open Division season going on. So, that's what I mean here. I think there is room for these sorts of tournaments on a more regular basis. Perhaps do one of these tournaments every month. Why not? It's not a massive tournament, and in my opinion, I don't think it's a massive logistical issue. I'm sure someone would take it on. Even Twitch Rivals, why didn't you ask Twitch? Although you've fallen out with Twitch now, Blizzard. So I suppose that door is kind of closed to you. But you could do it in conjunction with YouTube. Why not? Why not every month have an Overwatch Showdown presented by the Overwatch League in conjunction with YouTube? And have it just market the darn thing. And have a bunch of Contenders players take part in it. Plug their Contenders teams. Plug the streamers that take part. Plug the content creators that take part. Plug everyone that takes part. All of a sudden you've got this whole communal event that just gives so much exposure to not only people from Contenders, but everyone across the board. It would be fantastic. And what would draw people into that tournament? A, you could have unique rules, and B, every now and then you could have some Overwatch League players take part. And that would be really cool. I think that would be a brilliant thing, not just for the Overwatch community as a whole, but for the esports community, for Contenders, and for Tier 3. It's a small step for Tier 2. There is a lot of things for Tier 2 and Tier 3 that have to be done for it to recover, but something like this is awesome, and I'd love to see more of it. But that's my thoughts on the Flash Ops Echo Showdown, which was done a week ago. I think there is a massive capacity for this sort of tournament to take place on a regular basis, and I would love to see it. It is a nightmare to put in the schedule at times, but I think there is room for it. And I'm sure that a bunch of content creators and streamers would take part if this was a regular thing, just like they did during Breakable Barriers. But for now, thank you guys so much for watching this video. If you liked it, give it a like, subscribe if you're new, and I will see you in the next video. See you then.